I'm Debbie Georgatos. Welcome to my show, America Can We Talk? Today, we're going to talk about the Oscars box office bomb. Joe Collins, congressional candidate challenging Maxine Waters, will join us, and Kamala Harris's latest border fiction. And of course, I'll tell you why these stories matter to you. Stay tuned.
Debbie Georgatos, host of America Can We Talk, is an author, attorney, and political analyst whose mission is to inspire the American political conversation about preserving liberty in the best country on earth.
And hello again, and welcome to America Can We Talk and to today's First Five. I'm Debbie Georgatos. Okay, I will confess, I have never, or maybe I should say I should brag, I have never watched the Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys, any of these things, because I just am not entertained by it. However, there was information out I thought was rather interesting over the weekend, which had to do with the decline in listenership to people who watch the Oscars. I actually had to look this up so I know all the. So the Oscars, if you did not know this, are the same thing as the Academy Awards. I wasn't sure of that. So Academy Awards, same thing as Oscars. Golden Globes are TV and movies. SAG Awards, the Screen Actors Guild, that's for film and TV. I mean, they have so many things they award themselves. But the point is, the numbers, the viewership of Hollywood celebrating itself are way, way down. I sent to Derek, who's filling in for Matt the Wonderful today. I sent to Derek a chart. Yeah, okay, look at this. So back in 2014, this is how many Americans watched the Oscars. 43.7 million. Down to this past weekend, 2021, so that's 7 years later, 9.8 million. And my 2 cents about this, and the same thing is true, by the way, same percentages, massive drops in people who watch the Grammys, the SAG Awards, the Golden Globes. I mean, down hugely. In fact, on the Oscars, down 56%. 56%. And why I think this is good news is because so much of America has had their political perception about America, their political values, silently, almost secretly, molded and manipulated by Hollywood, by things they say, by the positions they take. Even when Hollywood, some of them get up there and give speeches, and they're whatever, they're rambling away about some liberal view on any issue, and they're always piling on America, and they're always anti-American, and they're always pro-leftist view on everything. And I think what these numbers going down symbolize is that America is a little tiny bit starting to wake up to it. It's not just when actors make speeches and say, yeah, I stand with whatever some leftist cause. It's that the messages they send, the very messages they send in their movies, the unspoken theme, the underlying theme always has American military bad. Left-wing causes good, America intolerant, and in all sorts of other ways, painting America as ugly. And actually at this time, when we just went through a year of COVID shutdown and many people were stuck at home, you would think that would result in having more people watch all these self-congratulatory, aren't we wonderful, look at us, aren't we the beautiful people kind of programs. People had more time to watch movies and television, had more time to sit around and watch the Oscars and all these other self-congratulatory things, and the numbers are just way down. I think it's a sign of America waking up and recognizing they have been unduly, unnecessarily, in fact, harmfully manipulated by the Hollywood-type people. I love that. Even though I cannot go into depth on these stories in the first five, I want to just quickly hit 2 more stories very quickly before I get to our very wonderful guest. One is that you may know that tonight, President Biden is giving his first, it's not a State of the Union. That if he's still in office next year, he would give next January or whenever he can get around to it. But he's giving his first kind of open speech in Congress since he was sworn in January 6th. The seating capacity where he will be is 1,200. 1,200 people could be sitting there. The number of people they're permitting is 200. And I know the excuse is COVID, oh yeah, they have to socially distance. I honestly think they're trying to protect him. They're trying to make sure they have a situation with him that there would just be a small crowd. So any kind of failure to react, usually when there's any kind of State of the Union, you have at least one side of the aisle standing up, clapping, Yahoo, cheering. Well, none of that's going to happen. It'll also be forced, artificial. Biden is not respected or liked within that party. And I just think they decided, let's hide this from the American people. So that's happening. But one thing he's going to be apparently announcing tonight, and I'm going to tease this topic and we'll have to hit it next week. But he is announcing a American Families Plan. American Families Plan, a massive spending bill. American Families Plan, an estimated 1.8 trillion, T as in trillion, $1.8 trillion for the American Families Plan, coming right on the heels of what has not yet been introduced to Congress, the American Jobs Plan. That would be 2.25 trillion on the heels of the American Rescue Plan, 1.9 trillion. This most recent thing, the American Families Plan, massively expands government spending. The Affordable Care Act provides universal free pre-K schooling regardless of family income, universal free community college regardless of family income, a national paid holiday, an emergency leave program at the federal government's expense. That alone, $225 billion. The point is, this is a typical field day for the left, announcing massive spending when we're already massively in debt. And this is all the way they sell their political power, they gain their political power, is by promising free stuff to the American people. And that's what is happening tonight. So we'll have to listen. I'm actually giving a speech tonight, so I'm going to have to, when I get home, listen to what he had to say. But this is all you're really hearing is the Democrat Party and this Democrat president announcing, we have thought of tons of new freebies to hand out, tons of new ways to cultivate dependency on the government among the American people. And here it is. And this is what the left lives for politically. Spend money, which of course involves raising taxes on the portion of society that produces jobs and earns money. This is the whole plan. Raise taxes, raise spending, create more dependency, create more debt, and somehow they get people voting for it and say, yeah, I'm for that. So that, anyway, is going to be happening tonight. Tomorrow's show, Thursday's show, is, as you likely know, my members-only show. So if you're a member, you'll be here tomorrow. We have a great guest coming on. And if you're not, then I'll see you on Monday, and we'll talk about these stories on Monday. And that, my very fine friends, is today's First Five. I mentioned we have someone joining us. He's joining us by Skype. I'm so glad he was available. And this is someone I was actually reading about, so I was glad when I happened to realize how I could connect with him. His name is Joe Collins, Joe E. Collins III, and he grew up in Los Angeles, and he is running for Congress as a Republican against Maxine Waters. And I looked up actually a lot about her background, Maxine Waters. She's been in Congress for 150 years. Okay, it's not really. She's been there a very long time. And Maxine Waters has made a lot of national headlines, especially over the last 4 years, in the pretty harsh things she has to say about President Trump, about Republicans. She has just been a lightning rod, gets much attention from the left-wing media in the country. And she's got a really just beyond credible, very impressive young man running against her, going to challenge her for her seat in Congress. So very quickly, this young man, Joe Collins, he'd served 13 years in the United States Navy. This is California's 43rd Congressional District he is running in. In addition to his service in the Navy, he became a licensed financial planning professional, a certified counselor for rape and sexual assault. And so he has a fabulous campaign ad we're going to play a little bit after we bring him on. But without further ado, let's bring on Joe Collins. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I am well. I'm happy to see you. Happy you could join us. So, Joe, I have to tell you, I've forgotten where I read about you, but I read about you. You ran against her last time, right, in 2020. And Maxine Waters seems like she's got this permanent incumbency, like she's going to be there until she, leaves this earth or something. I love the spirit of a Republican challenging Maxine Waters in this district. So thank you for running. You ran against her last time, and I'm a little bit curious how that went in terms of, did you feel in the district, did you hear a lot of people kind of ready for her to be gone?
Yeah, I did. We ran a really good election in 2020. We actually changed our district from a D+54 to a D+24, which means that all of the hard work that we put in, all the effort we put in, we actually raised Republican voters up 30 points, which is a good thing. I think that if we go back and we put that same effort into the district in this next campaign, we can win this thing. But people are really tired of Maxine. They want someone to replace or somebody who they connect with. And I think that I am that person. We get a lot of great support from the community.
Oh, I'm just sure that you did. And I've always wondered, people like Maxine Waters, she gets so much national publicity and she says so many outlandish, outrageous things. And I always think, where are the people in her district? Do they ever contact her and say, you're embarrassing us, can you please stop? I mean, I'm kind of shocked that she doesn't get more pushback from her district.
Well, she doesn't answer the phone and she's never in her office. So it's hard to tell someone, hey, you got to knock it off if they're unavailable. So, it probably happens, but she's non-existent.
She doesn't know. Okay, well, I want to play, and I played your ad. You had an ad against Maxine Waters, or now about your candidacy against Maxine Waters. And honestly, I played it like 3 times today, trying to think, should I chop it off here? Should I chop it off here? I couldn't chop it off, so it's a little bit lengthy, but it went viral and it's wonderful. And Derek the Wonderful is going to play it for us.
Hey, Maxine, it's Joe. I'm back. Remember me? I'm Joe Collins. I'm running for Congress in California's 43rd District against Maxine Waters. The problem is that this is where Maxine lives, and it's not even in her district. Fact check that, because it's true. Yet somehow Maxine seems to get elected term after term after term to California's 43rd District. Since she doesn't actually live in a district she was elected to represent, she's never there. So let's listen to what some of her constituents have to say.
I voted for Maxine Waters, but I want to know why she wants to represent us, even though she's never lived in our district.
Maxine, I want to know why I lost my job.
Maxine, why haven't you cleaned up the community?
See, the thing is, people have questions. They want to know why, since Maxine Waters has taken office, the 43rd District has only gotten worse. But Maxine, nowhere to be found. I'm from this neighborhood. Maxine isn't. Coming home after serving 13 and a half years in the U.S. Navy, I was shocked to find my community still in ruins. You would think that as a black leader in a minority-majority district, your prime responsibility will be to improve our communities. But that's not the case with Maxine. Since she's been in office, things have only gotten worse here in South Central Los Angeles. But she wouldn't know. She's too busy in Washington, D.C., making deals with lobbyists to line her own pockets with money. The only thing that's gone up faster than Maxine's net worth is homelessness in our district. 1 out of every 5 people in District 43 are living below the poverty line. 1 out of every 3 children are being raised in poverty. We have poor quality jobs and poor quality education. And gangs have taken over our streets. Violent crime in South LA is off the charts. In the first 2 weeks of 2021, this area had 59 shooting victims, compared to only 7 last year. But it's no surprise that violence has gone up in Maxine's district, considering she endorses violence. She's encouraged her constituents to harass and attack her political opponents. In a speech she gave in public, on camera, with no shame.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd.
And she thinks that's okay. Isn't that considered inciting violence? Maxine's policies is keeping our community down. It's keeping our people oppressed. South Los Angeles deserves better. Instead of adding fuel to the political fires of division in America like Maxine, I think it's time for us to come together. It's time for us to rebuild South Los Angeles. It's time to fix our homeless problem, revamp our education system, rebuild our infrastructure, and slash taxes. Bring high-paying jobs to the district and end poverty. Introduce financial literacy programs into our schools so our children can learn how to build generational wealth. The political establishment has failed our community on both sides. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. We need to unite. We can rebuild our district, but we need people to represent us who come from our neighborhoods. Maxine is 82 years old. She's represented Los Angeles in Congress for over 47 years, and she hasn't done anything. She doesn't even live here, but I do. I'm Joe Collins, and I'm running against Maxine Waters. It's time for something different. My name is Joe Collins, and I approve this message. Donate $17.76, and let's flip the house red.
Okay, I shouldn't need to say this, but I will. That is a great, great ad. Oh my gosh. I mean, I have it up on our website, and I just think it's fabulous. So you ran last time, so you're out there, you got a bunch of time, so you must be spending time in the district. I listed the issues you talked about in your ad. What do you hear when you talk to people in the district? Like, what are they looking for? What are the issues that bother them?
I think one of the biggest issues right now would have to be homelessness. And I think the homeless situation is caused because of the poor quality of leadership that we've had in California for a very long time. The cost of living is going up significantly, and you have able-bodied people who are working that are living on the streets right now. Also, quality jobs. People want to work. People want to go back to work. That's one of the causes for the amount of domestic violence and gang violence that we have right now. And people want quality education. And financial literacy is a big one for business owners as well as the actual constituents who live in a district who don't own businesses. And in my opinion, these are fairly easy things to be able to accomplish. You just got to have someone who is willing to put forth the effort in improving the lives of the people who live in our district.
Oh, I couldn't agree on all of the above. And on education in particular, there has been conversation, I mean, for decades about, well, we have especially majority minority communities, inner cities, poor public schools, poor ability of any of these kids to emerge from those schools with the education, the basic literacy, the basic skills to move into the jobs world. And yet all that seems to happen in those education discussions is the left pushes for whatever it is the teachers union want. They say, well, more money, we got to pour more money in. But more money has not solved the problem in the inner city education world, I mean, for decades. So what are the things we can do there?
Well, one thing that we can do is we can introduce trade back into the high schools. I think that's a huge thing we can do. We got to think the graduation rate from high school is 77% here in Los Angeles, and the graduation rate from college is 22%. So that means we're not setting up our young people for success. So if we can introduce trades and economics back into high schools, I think that for the students who don't graduate college or graduate high school, will have some type of education for them to be able to utilize out in a working world. And that would be a significant push if we can make that happen.
Love that. And on the subject of bringing jobs in, President Trump had the idea, and it went through the idea of opportunity zones, the idea of getting businesses enticed to move in areas that have high problems with, have high unemployment or they have low employment and they need to have jobs brought in. So is the opportunity zone something that you think would be a good idea to help bring jobs to the community?
Well, I think the idea was great, and I argue with people about this all the time, especially in the inner cities where they say President Trump hasn't done anything for them. And I said, you know what, you're absolutely right. The reason why is because we have so many Democrats that are controlling the local legislative branch of government in our towns. The predominantly inner cities are ran by Democrats, and any policies that President Trump pushes through, it never makes it to the people. So where you have opportunity zones, the idea is great, but the idea is being held up by the Democratic mayors, the Democrat state legislators, the Democratic, city council members, our assembly members. And this is, it hurts our community a lot, especially when we're trying to do things to help grow and do something about the poverty in our community.
Yeah, and you know what? I did a bunch of research for this little interview here today because I actually think I'm actually blown away. People can keep voting for someone like Maxine Waters because I think she has been not only hostile and creating much division in our country, but as your ad points out, she really hasn't, improved the lives. She hasn't represented the people of California's 43rd district seemingly for a long time. I mean, she's been there kind of as and I know, and I'm in Texas, and I know when we had a political race I got involved in, someone was saying, well, you have to vote for the incumbent because look at all the seniority he has, and now he's on all these committees. He runs this. He's got power. If we put a new person in, they start out at the ground level. And I think sometimes people just vote for Maxine Waters as an example because she's been there a long time and they figure she must know what she's doing. I mean, I'm just curious. I'd love to hear what you hear from the people when you go talking to them, the people who still support her. What do they say is the reason?
Well, one of the biggest reasons is they've never had anyone to actually run against Maxine who cared about the community. I mean, you get guys who say, oh, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, I'm going to run against Maxine, and they end up being worse than Maxine. I agree. Seniority is important, but also having a legislator who's been in office for 30 years it's kind of bad. You know, they get sucked into the swamp of Washington, D.C. They get lazy. They forget how to do their job. They become disconnected with the community. So when it comes to running for office, we need people who are from our communities, who care about our communities, who have experienced things that the failed policies of the legislators, and they want to see us do better.
Yeah, you know, your point in your ad about that she lives in a mansion far away from the district she represents, that seems like, I mean, she lives there, tied with the policies she has supported in those many years in Congress have not really changed life in the district. That's a very powerful argument. I mean, the whole idea of representational government is somebody is from your area, you, Joe, average American, someone's from your area, and they're going to go to Washington. They're going to say, hey, I'm representing this area in Texas or this area in California. She's living in a mansion area, which in California has got to be hugely expensive. And the people that she's representing can't live anything like she's living. It seems like that would bother people. Do you think that resonated, that argument about where she lives?
Yeah, I think people needed to see the hypocrisy between Maxine Waters and what she represents. I mean, her house is big. It's a huge mansion. It's so beautiful. But when you come to our district, it's nothing like where she lives at. I mean, we have homeless people everywhere. We have domestic violence, gang violence. Drugs up and down the community. We have dilapidated buildings. The infrastructure is falling apart. But then you go over to where Maxine lives at, and it's, oh my gosh, she lives around the corner from the mayor of Los Angeles. All her neighbors are beautiful. They speak. It's really nice. No homeless people anywhere. And so I think that somebody had to point that out in a manner that will make people watch and say, you know what, this is not right.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also looked at the racial composition of district. It's a 43rd congressional district, CD 43, in California, and I saw the map. I didn't send the map of the district to Derek, but anyway, I looked at it. So you really have the largest single. If you break down along ethnicity and race, you have a significant Hispanic population, or 26%. Do you have any idea how they vote? Have you ever tried to figure out how they vote, R or D, in your campaign?
What we noticed that is there are a lot of Hispanics with conservative values, just like there's a lot of Black people and white people and Asians with conservative values, although they are Democrat by political party choice. So I think that one of the biggest things we have to do is be able to talk to people on a level that they can understand and have them feel comfortable with us. But as far as like engaging each individual race of people in the district, this is just about being authentic.
Yeah, you know, I meant to tell you at the beginning of this, I worked on a campaign in Texas. It was a Black Republican candidate, and he was running against a long-term incumbent, Eddie Bernice Johnson. And honest to goodness, you know, it was a really great race because he's a pastor. He had, you know, very beloved in the community. And part of what he was arguing was, you know, what Eddie Bernice Johnson has been standing for, you know, however many years it's been. It's like 125, just like Maxine. But anyway, what she's been standing for is inconsistent with the Christian values that many of you go to and hear spoken and preached in your pulpits every Sunday. And somehow it seemed like that message, I thought that would really resonate with people. But do you have any sense of whether the kind of issues where people in your district, they may vote for Maxine Waters, but they think she's really not representing our values? Do you have any sense of that?
Yeah, we hear it all the time. Maxine Waters is a part of the Democratic Party who is pushing the trans community really heavy. And I know that goes against a lot of people, Christian morals. And, you know, unfortunately, that's what we've been able to get. And I think it's really wonderful now that people are starting to wake up. We're getting more younger candidates that are saying, you know what, we don't want this person to represent me, whether it's because they're 87 years old and removed from the community, or they've been sitting in Congress for a long time and has failed to introduce positive policy, or the values no longer align with where it is that we're supposed to be going, or they don't align with our religious values.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, and so one last thing I want to tell you. First of all, I'd love to give you any chance to do a parting shot. Tell my listeners about your campaign, how they can help. I mean, I'm assuming that you're running really early, which is great. I mean, obviously the elections are not till November of 2022. You're out in front right now, getting your message out there, working the, I assume, I don't know whether in California you knock on doors, but here in Texas, we knock on doors. That's how we run campaigns. But you're out here working. Number one, do you have any Republican primary opponent, or are you kind of it for the Republican side? And then how are you campaigning? How are you connecting with the people in your district?
We do a little bit of everything. We knock on doors. We're in the streets. We have vans that are wrapped with Georgatos for Congress. We're engaging with people on a regular basis. As far as a Republican opponent, no, I don't have one. I think the last guy who ran, he was only able to get about 30,000 votes, but my campaign has been able to almost triple the amount of votes for Republican just based off on our authenticity and us being in the community. So right now it's looking like it's going to be just me and Maxine Waters, but who knows what the future holds. We're going to run a positive campaign this time, just like we did last time.
Okay. You see, I hear so many candidates say that, and I know that is conventional wisdom. I mean, running a positive campaign, you got to tell the voters who you are, and God bless you for saying that. But honest to goodness, I hope the people in your district who are not very politically active are aware of the kind of incendiary things that Maxine Waters is now famous for saying. You had one in your ad, but famous for saying, because I love the point you made too, is that in your ad, you're talking about we have to eventually want to unite. We really can't be, it's unite to make things better for all of America. And that was a very good message in your district, because I think for many people, than maybe traditional Democrat voters, and the idea of venturing away from the Democrat Party is they're more willing to maybe open up to that if they have the sense that someone who's running on the Republican side is not running as a fierce anti-Democrat, fierce pro-Republican, just saying we got to make life better for our community, and we have to have someone representing us who has that agenda. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's about right. I remember when I was going through my campaign, people tell me, but you're a Republican. And I tell them, your political party preference is your choice. I said, but you need to vote for the person you feel is going to do the best job for you outside of your political party preference. So, yeah, it's a great message and it works.
I love it. Okay, so your website is Joe Collins for Congress, joecollinsforcongress.com. I love that you're doing this, and I love that you're young and energetic and you're going to get out there in the community, because I actually do think, I say this all the time on my show, I think the vast majority of Americans, they really want the best for America. They want the best for the American people. They want to see all people thrive. They want to see a stable community, a stable and civil life. They want crime to go down. They want to have a comfort level that their children are being well educated. The vast majority of Americans have very, very similar values, and they're really just looking for someone to represent them and bring those values forward. That's my 2 cents. So, Joe Collins, thank you so very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so joecollinsforcongress.com. First of all, I have to tell you, in this era of cancel culture and social media will kill you if you do something you're not allowed to do, running against Maxine Waters, pretty darn brave if you ask me. Okay, I'm going to tell you a quick story, a little thing here. I want to be sure and tell you on a day where the show is available to everyone that what our show is doing right now is we are still Monday through Thursday, 3 p.m. Central Time, and it's still live every day. But on Thursdays, we've made it a membership show, a members show. And all that means is that on Thursdays, the only way to watch the show is on our website. My website is americacanwetalk.org. So you can go to that website, and right on the home page, across the top, you choose the word members, and it pops up. You can join, and you hit the join button. And all it really means is to become a member of America Can We Talk. It's either $5 a month or $50 a year. That gives you access to the Thursday shows that are, again, for members only. And so I'll tell you more about the Thursday shows. The basic thing is we have a small in-studio audience. I can't do it in this studio, which I love the studio, but I do it in another studio here in the same. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm so glad. I actually had wondered if I sent it to you, but you do have it. Yay. I want to go over this and remind you. I'm talking about how to join America Can We Talk and why. Our membership plan is simple. There is right there, you can see in the top line, to join, go to americacanwetalk.org, choose members, and then beneath that, choose join now. You follow the instructions. They're very simple. You choose $5 a month or $50 a year membership dues. Choose your username, which just stick with your email, and a password. And then what the membership does, it gives you access online or in person if you're in Dallas to our weekly members-only shows every Thursday. Online, America Can We Talk is the only way to watch the Thursday shows. So Monday through Wednesday, you can watch the show on Facebook and on YouTube, and we put it out at all the new social media platforms, CloutHub and Rumble and Parler, but the Thursday shows are exclusively available live and later on our website. And so it offers the opportunity to be part of the Q&A with me or with our stellar show guests on Thursdays. It allows you to access past members-only Thursday shows in the members section of the website. It defrays the expenses of keeping the show on air, allows us to be free of commercial interruptions. It helps protect the conservative voices and views from the growing censorship in America. That is how to join. How to join. Very simple. And you join on the website, and you join for a year or $5 a month. You can watch the shows on Thursdays. Next slide I want to tell you, so once you are a member and you decide that you want to move forward, on the next slide you can see how to submit questions. And that is, so you've joined, you submit questions for our Thursday shows, and here's how you can do it. And I'll tell you in a moment, actually I'll tell you right now, leave that slide up there, Derek, but I'll tell you that we've had stellar guests so far. We just launched this in April, the beginning of this month, April 2021. And we've had Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, who everyone wants to ask him questions, got tons of questions for him. The entire format of the show, by the way, on Thursdays is different. It is not I don't have slides up and videos to play. I just have someone sitting there talking, small in-studio audience. They can ask questions. People can email me questions, text in questions. It's an American political conversation about preserving this country. So I've had Todd Bensman, fabulous first guest. He works on the has worked for a long time along the border, very familiar with the dangers at America's southern border, the drug cartels, et cetera, coming through. He had tons of great insights. Alan West has joined me on my Thursday show. Rafael Cruz, who's just a great American. Ted Cruz's dad, he's joined me on the show this coming week. Tomorrow, I have a young woman, and I just met her recently at a conference, and she mentioned numerous friends of mine saying, these friends said, I've got to meet you. Her name is Ashley Smith Thomas, and she founded Freedom's Fund. And when she's done telling you what she does, you'll be simply, I can't even begin to tell you what the amazing life she's lived and the things she's done to actually help people stand up for freedom in this world. So she's tomorrow. So back to the shows on this slide you're looking at. To submit a question, you can email a question ahead of time to americacanwetalk@gmail.com. Use the subject line, question for Thursday's show about. Very important to use that subject line because I can't tell you how inundated my email is. You can also join our America Can We Talk family texting group and text in a question. So once you're a member, you can text in a question. To join our little private texting group, in the to line of your text, enter 53445, and in the body of the text, type the word America. Very important. Don't put a period, don't put quotation marks, just put the word America, and that's it. You'll then receive our welcome to our America Can We Talk family, and you are in. Then, to text me a question, you again enter 53445 in the to line of your text message, and in the message, type the word America, and again, type the word America, no period, no comma, must just have that word freestanding, and then your question. So your question would look like this. America, do you think we should finish the border wall? You can submit questions ahead of time or even live during the show while watching at americacanwetalk.org. And so if you have joined our show, thank you so very, very much. If you haven't joined, I appreciate that. And I'll tell you once again, I've done this show. I started this show on Salem Radio in 2014. I have done this show. We have spent the family fortune because my mission on this show is to inspire and engage more and more Americans to realize it's our generation's turn to fight to preserve America. America the idea, America as founded, America the free is directly under siege from the anti-American left, from the Marxist communist elements that have now taken over the Democrat Party. We patriots need to be the ones standing up and speaking up. I give you information so you're well informed. I give you talking points to tell you how you can defend against things. I give you links and references. This is like a daily, the show is all about preserving America and inspiring people to believe you all can have a role. Everybody has a role in preserving this precious country. The Thursday shows, the whole membership thing just gives me some opportunity to have some income to offset the expenses that this show involves. The show is actually, surprisingly, this beautiful studio and these wonderful producers I have are not free. I wish they were free, but they're not. So I do need your help. If you can join America Can We Talk, it's not very expensive. You get a lot of value out of it, and you can help keep this show on air and help us circumvent the censors who have already been targeting this show in many, many ways. So that's my little pitch about joining my show and how to send in questions. Last topic for the day, I want to tell you about, so Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, you may remember that Joe Biden said in some speech how he was going to designate her, she's supposed to be in charge. She's supposed to be in charge of border policy. And this is, of course, because their administration had no border policy at all. They ran on saying mean things about President Trump's determination to secure the border. President Trump was determined to secure the border through a combination of elements, the Remain in Mexico policy, the building of the wall, numerous other policies, the enforcement of the border, and those things all were things that the Democrats ran against. That was cruel for America to even have a border. That was a Democrat thing. So they get in office, of course, they have no policy at all. They've abandoned the border. We have rampant, overrunning the border. We have all sorts of danger occurring at the border. We have drug smugglers, narcotic smugglers, we have human traffickers, we have sex traffickers, we have child sex traffickers, we have, I don't have the numbers in my head right now, but we have thousands of unaccompanied children showing up at the southern border and then being shuttled into a system which isn't set up to house them or care for them. I mean, it's a just ridiculous disaster at the border. And so, as you would just assume would happen, if your border policy is, hey, we abandon the border, and I want to say something else. The abandoning the border policy of the Biden administration is not really precise enough. They are about abandoning the border. But it's a very strategic, intentional, purposeful plan. It is to overrun America with large amounts of illegal aliens who can come into America because we aren't enforcing the border. They disperse themselves throughout the American the continent into cities and towns that house them and don't care that they have no legal right to be here. So the Democrats are building up a massive, massive future majority Democrat voting base by opening the borders. Secondly, the Democrats are serving their mission of globalization, of abandoning the southern border, because it's a means of demeaning and mocking and ridiculing the unique greatness of America and the sovereignty of America. No country is a country without borders. And if you abandon the southern border, which the left has done, you are saying, we don't think the identity of America matters. We don't think the border matters. And so everybody in free for all. And you have, of course, thousands of people crossing the border. We've had many shows about this. I'm not going to go off on the details of how absurd the situation is at the southern border. But finally, the American public is paying attention, realizing, hey, we kind of got swept up, President Biden, in your arguments, about how cruel the Trump border policies were, but you don't have any border policy. You've just abandoned it. So Biden gives a speech, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and said, oh yeah, it's a press conference at the White House. He said he asked Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, to lead our efforts at the border. So she's supposed to, he's got no policy. It's such a disaster down there. She's supposed to lead our efforts. And very soon thereafter, Kamala Harris's senior advisor and chief spokesperson, Vice President Kamala Harris's chief spokesperson and senior advisor named Simone Sanders said to the press, the vice president is not doing the border. She's not doing the border. I mean, this is like a, very cool 16-year-old trying to rebel against, my dad said my curfew is midnight. Well, I'm not doing the curfew. It's childish to even speak that way, but there you have the left. Anyway, so she won't do it. She won't enforce the border. What she is willing to do, says she, Vice President Kamala Harris, she's willing to explore what's happening in the Central American countries where, beside Mexico, the Central American countries where this massive influx of people pouring over America's southern border is coming from. She's willing to examine what is the problem. Why would these people want to come here? Okay, she should have just called me, because I could tell her. They want to come here because America is prosperous, has opportunity, and because the Democrat Party continues to put out the word around the world, hey, we're making everything free. Look what Biden's about to announce tonight. Everything is free in America. Nothing costs anything. So, of course, people in impoverished countries are going to pour across the southern border when you're not enforcing it, when you're promising them free everything. I mean, she should have just called me because I could have told her. But instead, she did a mission. She's going to go down there, figure it all out. What's going on? Why would all these people? It is so surprising and puzzling and hard to understand why these people would pour across the border. Well, I'll just tell you, the countries they come from, I didn't realize I call this the Northern Triangle. The Northern Triangle countries in Central America: Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador. All three countries, very high poverty level, very high corruption level, very difficult for people who are willing to work hard to actually succeed. There's no economic mobility, no economic upward mobility. So they are trapped in policies created by their own governments. It's not America do something mean to them. There may be past instances or episodes where America's businesses went down there and maybe did things that now they're complaining about. But the fact is, these people are pouring over the border into America from the Northern Triangle countries because the countries they come from do not have the promise of freedom, opportunity that America has, the stability, the rule of law, all the greatness of America. And they're fleeing a country that's a mess in all three cases. But Kamala Harris, so that's the real answer. Beside that, the Biden team is inviting them to come over the border. In fact, I got to just mention again, I don't have it ready today, but I showed it several times on the show. You have to see the image, the picture of people lined up on the Mexico side of the southern border, not in America yet, on the Mexico side. I mean, we're talking hundreds of people who want to come into America, all wearing fresh, brand new, sparkling white clean T-shirts that say, President Biden, please let me in. And the Biden word, his last name, is spelled, is lettered, has the font in exactly what he used in his campaign. So these people struggling, leaving the Northern Triangle countries and somehow, fleeing a hunger and danger, whatever they say they're fleeing, but they had time to run by and pick up a brand spanking new. They had a T-shirt. They had small children in these T-shirts. They had babies. They had older women, older men, people of all sizes and shapes. Somehow they magically had shirts saying, Biden, please let us in. I mean, the whole thing is such a farce. But back to what Kamala Harris is trying to do with this. So Kamala Harris, who won't do the border thing because she doesn't want to be bothered, and because I'll tell you why else she won't do it. Because nothing she could do with the southern border would play well with the Democrat voting base. Nothing. She realizes it's a no-win for her to go down to the border and say, hey, as it turned out, we probably needed the portion of this wall. As it turned out, remain in Mexico was a brilliant policy that President Trump had because it prevented people from entering America and then us having to decide whether they met our asylum standards or had some other reason that we have to allow them to stay. All those things would be pilloried by all the left-wing interest groups, and she's not about to put herself up for that kind of ridicule. She just won't do it. But back to what she's now trying to say, and I kid you not, you might think I'm making this up, but here Kamala Harris did an investigation to find out in the answer to the puzzling question of why people from the Triangle countries, the Northern Triangle countries, again, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, and Mexico, will be pouring over America's southern border. And she figured it out. It is so great. She figured it out. Here's what she says it is. It's violence against LGBTQ people. You think I'm kidding? She actually said that. That the reason we have a crisis, now that's not the only reason, that's reason one she gave. Because we have violence against LGBTQ people, which I haven't noticed a lot of that, LGBTQ agenda at the southern border. The people basically saying, let us in, we want to come to America, everything's free here. We heard from Biden, everything's free here. But she blames the discrimination against LGBTQ people. She blames discrimination against, her term was Afro-descendants. So she said, in America, you say African-American or just say black, but she uses the expression Afro-descendants. So people who are of African origin, she's claiming, are experiencing discrimination in these countries, and that's why they're pouring over the border. Never mind, you see, if you look at the pictures, and there's thousands of people you can see in pictures, all you see are people who look like they are South American. And the third reason she pointed to, I am not kidding, that these people have to flee their countries is climate change. Yeah. Kamala Harris explains the overwhelming, piling over the southern border on climate change. No kidding. Climate change, LGBTQ discrimination, and Afro-descendants are being discriminated against. Not the idea that these countries ought to have in their own countries the insistence of their own people. Rise up against their corrupt politicians. Put in a solid, good government. Put in a government that's responsive. Demand. It's like they're all going to abandon these countries, and there's nobody left except the corrupt people, all robbing from each other. This is where we are. But back to Kamala Harris, and I want to just point something out. Kamala Harris, I don't even think herself believes that these reasons she has given are really the reasons people are piling over the southern border. These are not the reasons, and she doesn't think those are the reasons. She doesn't think anything like that. She's just pushing the left-wing agenda that sucked in ignorant Americans, the LGBTQ rights agenda, the climate change agenda, the racism agenda. These are the same campaign themes the entire left-wing America ran on. And now, when she's asked to, can you figure out what's happening at the border? Oh, lo and behold, that's the same problems down there. She's just pushing the left's agenda. She doesn't even believe these things herself. She does not think that the Northern Triangle countries are having just hordes of people leave because of climate change or LGBTQ discrimination or racism. She knows exactly why. Because they're impoverished, because they're corrupt, because they don't have a solid free market system creating the wealth and abundance and opportunity being created in America. But she can't say that. She can't say, when you're Kamala Harris and you're the vice president of the Democrat Marxist Party of America, you can't say, I figured out why they're coming here. They're coming here because we have freedom and abundance and opportunity because of free markets, because they're trying to tell America, you don't need free markets anymore. Get rid of free markets. Let's all be communists. Let's all be Marxists. She can't even be honest about the reasons people come here, because then she'd be acknowledging that everything her party stands for in terms of crushing the free market system, substituting the free market system with the socialist, Marxist, communist system that the Democrats are bringing to America today. She can't say, hey, I solved it, because then she'd be going against the very thing her party is trying to destroy here. It is the most duplicitous, outlandish, absurd explanation she's offering. So, of course, because these are the issues she's identified, that motivates the American left to try to do more to fight climate change. You see, we'll solve the southern border problem if we just solve climate change. All they're trying to do is assemble more and more power and force the American people to accept the absurd, dishonest depiction of America that the left has painted. They have to have America still agitated about free markets, still agitated about climate change, still agitated about LGBTQ discrimination, still agitated about racism. They have to keep America agitated. And so, by her coming back from her, mission of discovering about what the supposed causes of these people leaving these countries, she's just buttressing the Democrats' agenda. I mean, it is the most absurd thing. As I say, I don't even believe she believes it. These are just the talking points she must have because she's a Democrat, and that's a talking point that Democrats have. That's what they push. So you're going to have, of course, in response to her fact-finding effort in these countries in Central America, we're going to have more spending. We're going to have more conditions put on the spending from the federal government in America on these countries. To be clear, I'm not saying that there's no LGBTQ discrimination in those countries. There probably is. I don't know. But that's not the reason we have thousands pouring over the southern border. And I'm not saying that there is not a problem with racism in some of these countries. There probably is. There's frankly a problem in some small degree of racism in every country in the world. But the left has staked its claim on the future of America by pushing the picture of America as a deeply racist country, a deeply bigoted country against LGBTQers, and a country whose very being on earth is about to end because of the massive climate disaster that they have cooked up out of whole cloth. They have to keep America on that page, in order for the American people to buy the spending and the programs and the policies that are coming out of the Biden administration. It is truly outrageous. Hey, I got to go to, or out of time here, I want to go to why these stories matter to you. But back to my Thursday show, I cannot believe I forgot to mention. I mentioned we just started this. We had one other guest on our Thursday show that I forgot to mention. I ran through the litany earlier, and that was a guy named Aaron Reitz, R-E-I-T-Z. If you haven't heard of him, he works in the Texas Attorney General's office, in Ken Paxton's office, and he's a deputy general counsel there, I think his title is. But he had a piece in the Newsweek magazine that was about the idea that Biden's policies with respect to the military, that all of the critical race theory stuff, all of the, weeding out alleged rampant racism, which he's saying doesn't even exist. He's also serving the military, and he's also in the Guard, so he's still involved in the military. And basically, he wrote a just viral piece in Newsweek magazine, Aaron Rice did, talking about how Biden's policies in the military are not just unnecessary, not just unwise. They're deeply harmful to the morale of the military and to their military readiness, because they spend time instead of, and in his time he went for his Guard training, instead of the planning, training, conditioning, practicing, shooting, whatever the things they should be doing, they spent time analyzing who can we criticize as being racist, encouraging members of the military to turn each other in if they were even slightly offended by something somebody said once. I mean, he was a great interview on our member show, and I want to be sure not to have left him out of the mix when I mentioned our member show. Okay, my friends, at the close of every show, I tell you why the stories we talked about today matter to you. And so we started our show today talking about the Oscars TV ratings bomb. Oscar TV ratings plummet from 43.7 million in 2014, so not even 10 years ago, to 9.8 million in 2021. And down from 23.6 million just last year to 9.8 million. America is waking up to the evil of the influence of Hollywood on America's culture and fabric and people. TV ratings for Emmys, Grammys, and all similar award shows way down. And this kind of ties into what I was mentioning yesterday, the 2020 census results, which are showing that people are moving from the blue states, the big government, control your every move, control your life states, and tax you to death states. People are moving from the big government control states to the states that still honor freedom, like Texas and Florida. So you had Texas and Florida gaining congressional seats, and you had California, Illinois, New York, and others losing seats. People don't want what the left is selling. Same point about the Grammys and the Oscars as about the census. People don't want what the left is selling. Americans are not buying what the left is selling, tuning out the pop culture, moving away from the government control of blue states to the relative freedom of the red states? Could it be that a silver lining from a year of lockdowns was a nationwide reflection and reawakening to what's important in America? And in Kamala Harris's latest border fiction, Biden assigned Harris responsibility for the border, but her aide says she's not doing that. She's not doing the border. Like a teenager saying, I'm not doing the curfew, my dad said. Anyway, Harris assessing root causes of overrun border, but her assessment is standard leftist blather. Migrants coming to the U.S. because climate change, LGBTQ persecution, racism factors? I don't think so. Reality, the radical left has always wanted open borders to overwhelm education and healthcare systems, to bankrupt the country. It's a Cloward Piven strategy, and more Americans are seeing it. They've always also wanted to grant citizenship to migrants believed to be certain to vote for big government benefits, and therefore Democrats, and to make the USA less sovereign and more global, i.e. to dilute citizenship. The border is being overrun because that is what the Biden administration wants. And that, my very fine friends, is America Can We Talk for today. Thank you so much for tuning in every Monday through Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time to America Can We Talk. One last quick thing, if you're a member and you're having a hard time getting into your account, some people lost track of the password they created for themselves, you can email me at americacanwetalk@gmail.com and put in the subject line, need help accessing my membership, or something like that. We've been clearing up. We've had a few of these problems. I have a great person working on the website. He's fixing them. So if you have trouble logging in, please let me know and we will get your password reset for you. We're working on that. And everyone, many people have had their password reset. It's working great. Members, thank you so much. I can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. I have a great interview. I so appreciate every single one of you who've joined, who support this show. And I just love that you tune in. I encourage you, wherever you listen or watch, please share the show, like it, do all the things you know to do in social media, like and share and subscribe. Help this show grow, because this show is all about preserving this precious country, which is definitely and deeply under siege from ideas that will destroy the very fabric of freedom in America. I'm Debbie Georgatos, and this is America Can We Talk, where I always talk truth about America because America matters. And I'll talk to you next time.
Can We Talk? Truth about America.